Even in a movie about separation and being out in the middle of nowhere, there's still a Marvel reference to the Avengers. Welcome back to Movie in the Middle, everybody, or at least the unedited version of Movie in the Middle, while I still wait for my laptop to get here. Today, our movie in the middle is Nomadland, which is about a woman who, after losing almost everything in a recession, packs up everything else that she has into an RV and goes traveling across the American West in search of herself and jobs and the past. This stars Frances McDormand and David Strathairn. I even looked up how to pronounce it. Still can't pronounce it. And is directed by Chloe Zhao. And this was a really incredible movie. It just came out on Hulu because it came out last year. This is a 2020 film, but it finally came out for anybody who couldn't see it in theaters or didn't want to rent it. And yeah, so basically it is a very small film. It's weird because it's big visually, but it's a small film. It's really not one that has a lot of plot. It's more a look into this kind of life of a nomad because she becomes part of a community called Nomads, which is what these people do is they just pack up everything into an RV and they just travel the country and they get little jobs here and there, but they mostly are just traveling and living out of these RVs. It's very Coen Brothers feel, actually, like the kind of smaller, quieter movies that they have. It felt like that for a while. I actually thought for a second maybe this was directed by the Coen Brothers and I just didn't even know it. But it's really, really great. Before I get into the highs, I just want to mention that this gave me a lot of flashbacks, not in the good way, of Amazon Warehouse. Because for those of you who don't know, I worked at Amazon Warehouse for 2 months. 2 months. And I was proud of those 2 months that I worked there, that I lasted that long. I'm not going to go into a rant or anything, but Amazon Warehouse is the worst. So, she works at Amazon Warehouse in this movie, and it literally shows like inside a warehouse and exactly the job that I was doing. And I even brought my brother and my mom in here, and I was like, this is what I did. Like, you can literally see it in the movie. And my brother was like, this looks like the worst. And I was like, yep. So anybody who's worked at Amazon Warehouse and just couldn't do it, this is for you. So, the highs. Obviously, Frances McDormand. She plays kind of like a nicer version of her character in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. She's very reserved, but also really nice. She's offstandish and kind of to herself, but she does try to be a part of this community, and she kind of goes back and forth. She's ingratiating herself into this community, but she also likes to be by herself a lot, and she kind of does her own thing. So she's sort of trying to strike that balance, and she definitely has a lot of depth. We just don't find it out until later on, or we find it out very slowly. But she plays, like a great character. She does an amazing job with this character, who obviously is not like wholly like a sociable person, but likes to make these little relationships and connections with everybody. Also, it was really cool just to have like all these little survival tips, because they're basically like not necessarily going camping, but kind of going camping. Like, you have to survive out here in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's one scene where she forgets a spare tire, and this person's like, this is life or death. If you don't have a spare tire, you could die out here. So it was really cool seeing, there was like a couple scenes where they show all these little survival tips, and it's kind of like that episode of Mythbusters where they go out into the middle of nowhere with just duct tape and try to survive. It's one of my favorite episodes, so it definitely kind of felt like that. But I would say that the biggest high to this movie is its tactful approach to all these themes that just happen to be themes of contrast, but there's so many. There's working versus being, free and living your life. There's remembering the past and living the now. There's being lonely versus being alone. There's a lot of these moments where her character's name is Fern, which, side note, I figured out when I was looking up the cast. At first I was like, maybe this is just a coincidence, but everybody in the movie is named what their actual name is, like the actual actors and actresses. So that's really cool. But I really liked that there were these moments where Fern you could tell that she's not alone. She's got a lot of people around her, but she feels lonely. You know, like when she goes back to her, like sort of like not back to, but visits her original life in her childhood house, and she sees all these people who she grew up with, but she feels sort of uncomfortable. But then there are times where she is alone. There's nobody around her, but she obviously does not feel lonely. She feels pretty fulfilled, you know, in all these incredibly beautiful nature scenes. I mean, it's one of those movies where, like, in any other movie, it'd be like, okay, all right, well, where's the plot? You know, like, it's nice to have all these you know, rainforests and oceans and everything, but like, you know, I might as well just watch a nature documentary. But like I said, this doesn't really have so much of a plot as it is just living these moments. So that was really great. And yeah, like I said about the Amazon warehouse before, I mean, this has a very trying to strike that balance between what is, you know, you need to survive by working, but you also don't want to spend your life working, you know. And if you're gonna work, you want to do something that you love, not like doing all these jobs that are just like the worst. And so there's a lot of that theme as well of like, I just need to find work and then I'm gonna move on anyway, you know. So it I really loved that as well. And again, remembering the past versus living the now because of what happened to her versus what she's doing, and she kind of has to confront that as well. So there's a lot of these incredible themes of, you know, contrast in here. I mean, even, you know, community versus me time. This movie is the epitome of me time, and I felt that deeply. In terms of the lows, really, there's kind of two, but they sort of tie together. The first one is that this is one of those movies that it doesn't feel slow, even though you think it would. It's a lot of like vignettes, but they go so quick that you don't really feel the runtime. However, that's because there's so many little scenes that are like 30 seconds to a minute long, and then it cuts to something else to keep it going. But because of that, a lot of times it feels like it can skip over or, you know, come across really vague as to why a character does something or how these characters ended up, you know, together in the same place. That was only every so often, but there were a few times that I was like, how did they know to be there? Or why did she do that? Because she just said she wasn't going to. And it probably is more of like trying to imply it, but I don't think it was clear enough sometimes. It doesn't really take away from the movie that much because, again, it's not really so plot heavy. The other one low that I had was that her character, while we do find out by the end kind of what she's about, she's more about, you know, she doesn't have to be doing this. She wants to be doing this. And a lot of other little things that come with that. For about 70% of the movie, it doesn't seem like we really know her character that well. We kind of know like what she's like with other people, but we don't really know why she's doing this. Again, it doesn't take away too much, but I would have liked to have known a little bit earlier on more about her depth. You know, we get some little things like that, but I don't think it was enough that I felt like I knew this character, you know, until like 70% of the way through. Those are my two only lows, and again, they're kind of big, but they don't really take away from the movie that well or that much. Overall, though, this is a very thought-provoking movie. It makes you contemplate a lot of things. It's very humbling because it makes you grateful for what you have as well. It's just one of those looks into something that we never really know much about, and it's just really cool to see that community. Yeah, and like I said, it's very thought-provoking, very contemplative on, you know, making you think about working versus living, and, you know, do we just do jobs just to survive, or are we trying to do something that we're really actually passionate about? You know, so there's a lot that comes into this, and it's a very incredible movie, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4. And because of all these little themes that come in, but it doesn't seem like it would in something like this that seems very surface level, or very, like, not much happens, but really it makes you think a lot, I'm actually going to create another award for this and call it the Iceberg Award, which is sort of like the opposite of the Fish Tank Award. The Fish Tank Award is, you know, there's a lot seeming to be going on, and it's very beautiful to look at, but really there's not actually much happening. This one's the opposite, where it seems like we don't get a whole lot, but the more you think about it, there's a lot of depth going on here. So, this one gets the Iceberg Award. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Have you ever worked at Amazon? And let's talk about that sometime. And yeah, make sure to like and share and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And hopefully, when you come back, I will have editing. I really hope so. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. And I'll see you guys later. Make sure to check out social media. Please do it. Yeah. Really quick, check out social media. Check out the Instagrams and Facebook, because you probably have by now, but if you haven't, I've been doing a ton of mini movie reviews, catching up on 2020, so that I can finally, by the end of this month, do my actual, top 10 of 2020. Plus, just because I know a lot of them are going to be coming up during the awards seasons anyway. So check those out, because by the end of this month, I'll have that list out. And yeah, see you guys later.